Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And when you go to apply and they ask you, how did you hear about Podgo? Make sure you tell them that the Vault Classic Music Review sent you.
Welcome to the Vault Podcast, Classic Music Reviews, presented by IV Creative. Now, here's your hosts, B. Cox and the crew.
Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Vault Podcast, Classic Music Reviews, presented by IV Creative. It's a perspective on the classics from a fresh point of view. We appreciate you for taking your time and lending your ears to our perspective. You could be anywhere listening to anything, but you're right here with us, so we thank you. With you today is yours truly, B. Cox, and with me, yet again, I have very, very special guests joining us here in the Vault Classic Music Reviews for yet another review here with me today. You heard him just a few weeks ago doing a very, very dope review of us with us for the score with the Fugees. They are back once again. Everybody, please welcome once again D and T of the Perfectly Imperfect Couple podcast back in the vault once again. Y'all, what is up?
What's going on?
Oh man, everything is everything. I'm glad to have you guys back. That was such a great conversation.
We are glad to be back.
You know, that we had with the Fugees, man, and I got a lot of great feedback. People loved listening to you guys' perspective on that. That was a really dope album. And as I mentioned to both of you all, man, I've been listening into the podcast, and I've loved the last few episodes you guys have done. And you guys go make sure y'all check out D&T on the Perfectly Imperfect Couple podcast. You can find them Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere where you can find podcasts out there. Go listen to them and follow them on social media too, man. So they have a really dope show, and I'm always glad to have them back here because they're dope people and they talk dope things about music. So anybody who does that,
oh, thank you.
They're down
we
with
think
me.
you're pretty dope too.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. So, you know, as we always say here in the Vault, our motto is hashtag open the vault, hashtag nothing but the classics. And today is one that when I looked at it on the schedule and I looked at the year to what we were doing, I had to really transport myself back 20 years ago to, you know, what we're about to cover today, y'all. And it's because of the way that I feel, how I feel about this album. And anyone who knows about how the late 90s into the early 2000s was, to me, that was the golden era of when neo soul was on and popping. And it really was a force, not just in the industry, but commercially it was successful because it was good music. And you had the full gamut of everyone, Erykah Badu to D'Angelo to Joe Scott to Floetry to Vivian Green to Rashawn Patterson to Music to Bilal. And mentioning neo soul during that time and even from back then and even now is incomplete unless you mention this young lady's name. And of course, we are talking about none other than India Arie and her debut album Acoustic Soul, which turns 20 years this year. Wow. It's just the one that I have to say about this, y'all. Just a crazy time thinking about like when I first listened to this album, going back to that time when this music came out and hearing that very first single from her, which was Video, and being struck by it because it was that, you know, that sample that you got that everybody relates to. Akinelli's Put It in Your Mouth, you know, like, you know, but
I knew that song,
you know, but it was a dope song, but there was so much more to come from her. And really, this was the beginning of being able to get into a journey of an artist that, you know, truly exemplifies so many different things for all the right reasons. And so, you know, the particulars on Acoustic Soul released March 20th.
I agree.
Yeah. So the particulars on Acoustic Soul, March 27, 2001 release date, recorded at many different places and principal amongst them, all classic studios, the Electric Lady Studio in New York City, Sound Kitchen in Franklin, Tennessee, Music Mill in Nashville, Tennessee, Access Atlanta, the Blues House, New Reflections, Nashville, Tennessee, the studio, Philadelphia World Beat Battery Studios in New York City, and a runtime of 61 minutes and 18 seconds on Motown Records, nonetheless. And this is interesting because India Arie, as you know, her mother and father, Joyce and Ralph Simpson, they were artists. Her mother was a singer and opened up for the likes of none other than Stevie Wonder and also Al Green. And her mother also served as her stylist. So we come around full circle almost 20 years after the fact that India Arie signs with Motown for her debut album, Acoustic Soul. And again, 20 years ago, which is amazing. So we're going to really get into some of the particulars, guys, and also producers here who produced for this album. India Arie, who wrote most of this album herself. Blue Miller, Mark Batson, Carlos 6 July Brody, and also Bob Power, who is a great mixing engineer and producer in his own right. But a lot of this work on here was done with her. She produced and wrote a majority of this album, which is amazing considering the work that is on here. I want to get your perspective 20 years ago with Acoustic Soul and India Arie, just your reaction when you first heard it, and then what really has maintained throughout all these years, not only just with this album and her music, but her music overall.
I am a huge fan of this album.
Yeah.
It takes me back to college and just, I feel like this was like how do I say it? Like a love letter to all black women back then. Like how to love yourself.
Yeah. And
going back and listening to this album, it was just a lot of memories, like sad memories, happy, trying to find yourself. Like it was just all really good. Just a feel good album.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those albums where I felt like I could listen to it all the way through and not have to like skip any. So it's a classic in my mind. I love it.
Yeah.
I do.
Indeed.
But let me just say, you know us. I feel like D is about to say something ridiculous because all week he been like, I love you, babe. Don't get upset. And I'm like, get upset about what? And I have a feeling I'm about to get upset.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So,
my gosh.
All right.
what are you about to say?
Oh, wow.
Well, thank you first for putting me on the spot. No need to have private conversations in my own home.
Oh, man. Y'all are crazy.
So first, B, I just want to say, you be dropping knowledge. So all your listeners, everyone that's listening to this podcast, he be digging y'all. Like he give y'all like background of background of background. So like, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I thank you.
So now let me get to the part where I like trip over myself. 2001, like when this album came out, I wasn't in the headspace for music.
Okay.
We were in college. This was spring 2001.
That was a good year.
It was a great year. I actually crossed, and I was,
Okay. All right.
So
Say less.
during this time frame,
Okay.
I wasn't really listening to music.
Yeah. I get
And
it.
then when I got off, the music I was listening to was on a different spectrum.
Okay. I got you. I'm following.
So yeah, but I think overall it's a good album. Listening to it now, it was really good. I think I do remember like singles and the impact it had on the community and the world. But like I wasn't listening to it like that because I wasn't in that right place.
It was like the ultimate Black Girl Magic album.
It was
Like the beginning, well, not the beginning, but like, that introductory for a lot of people to like Black Girl Magic.
Yeah.
Like I'm dope. Like I feel like it was specifically for Black women.
But I also think too, she was like different. Like I think she was definitely neo soul, but it felt different to some degree for me.
Okay. And can you explain that a little bit as far as like how it felt different? 'Cause,
So when I say
okay, go ahead.
it felt different, like I think Erica and Jill and they still had some like hip hop ties. And then from India, it felt like
very folklore.
Yes. Like some very like
Jewel,
spiritual,
Tracy Chapman.
Yeah. Okay.
It felt like when I listened, I was like, "Oh, this is super spiritual."
Got you. Yeah.
And now, like none of the, like none of them felt spiritual too, but it was different. And she feels like
she was a different space.
So it's different. Yeah. That's why I say it's just a little different for me.
Yeah. Now I definitely get that. There is definitely a spiritual quality to her music. My background on this album. So I'll say this. I was in the same time, college. This was my freshman year. So this was spring 2001, Morgan State University. Being in the space of music at that time was a weird place to be in because it's almost like when it came to black and urban music, it was sort of like there was a battle for the soul of the audience of black and urban music. You had the super commercial things that were out there, and then you had everything when it hip hop wise is sort of like underground or sort of on the fringe that was sort of, catering to this thing, like, this whole thing about, real hip hop, what's real and what's not. Then with R&B, you had these artists, especially these neo soul artists that were starting to emerge at this time that were immensely popular. And then not only that, but the music was tremendously great in its quality. I mean, the artistry that came from some of these artists that we all just sort of ran down. When India Arie came out with this during this time, and I went to a black college, y'all. In any college, really, you can find this. But in a black college, you know people that sort of, like, you get into this vibe. Like, neo-soul people who listen to this, like, there was sort of like an archetype of person that you would run into that loved the music, like neo-soul music. Folks that had, like, many shrines to, like, Erykah Badu and Jill Scott in their rooms and, burned incense and candles and essential oils and shea butter and all that stuff and head wraps.
And nappy hair.
And afros and dreadlocks. And so y'all get it. You know where I'm coming from. So that's really where the space where you got it. The first song, like I said, was Video when it came out. But then there was other songs like Brown Skin. But I think when I really started to turn on this is when I heard Ready for Love. And
I still cry on that song.
Yeah, it's
I do.
Yeah. It is an amazingly beautiful song.
It's so raw.
And it evokes so many different emotions. And that's when I knew she was sort of different. And I kind of thought that we would see and get exposed to that a lot, more. But I felt as though she and other artists got sort of pushed to the background later on that year when Alicia Keys came on the scene. And then this sort of also speaks to the theme of this album, and no disrespect to Alicia at all, because she's an amazing artist, but the visual aspect plays into this as well, as opposed to being pushed to the background and someone else being pushed to the forefront. And to be quite honest, when you talk about the level and quality of their music, they're right there neck and neck. If not, I know I might be saying something blasphemous to some of y'all. If not, India Arie's music's a bit better than hers, than Alicia's.
Yeah.
And so, but again, we go into these whole things, but it's the theme of this album. The fact that you talked about something, that it's a tribute to Black girl magic. It's a tribute to Black women.
Is.
I listened to it and I listened and I got like, this was even like a tribute to me, like of Black love, like that's really the vibe that I got from it, and the emotions the messages that are here, the emotions that come from this album. I was reading something, and I don't remember exactly what it was in reference to, but someone says is that you can tell, and you can really tell and feel it when art and music comes from a place of pure love. And that's really where I thought that I felt so much of this album was coming from a place of pure love. Now, what that love was directed towards, whether it's in particular a person or a feeling or a moment, either way, you felt that coming through the speech.
Or the idea. Like,
yes.
I was reading something that was saying that she said that she was really these were affirmations for her. So like she wasn't in a great place when she was recording this. She didn't feel like she was beautiful. She didn't feel like she was loved. She didn't feel, you know what I mean? These were all like, I deserve this. This is where I want to be. And I think that's why I get so emotional on Ready for Love, because you can tell that, you know, it's coming from a really raw place.
Yes.
Like it's real. And those lyrics are real. You know, I don't know. I get goosebumps talking about it because that song is everything.
You're right.
Stop laughing at me.
It is. It is.
I can't, babe.
It's an amazingly beautiful song, and you know, I mentioned this to y'all before we got on the air, but my fiance, and listen, see, babe, I'm doing it now. She wanted me to make sure that I told you guys and told everyone else about how much she loves this album. She loves it. And when we were listening to this, I mean, she knew a lot more of this album line for line and song for song more than even I did. And I was just like, whoa, you know? But this is, and to talk also about that, what you talked about, T, is that, you know, to see a woman like her, like to me, there was always something very, what's the word that I can use? Like when you talk about something like someone's music matches their person, like that to me is much more the India Arie than anything else. And it's not just visually her being a beautiful brown skinned woman, like this, you know, beautiful brown woman that so many times where we talk about things with, whether it's our kids or ourselves, for those of us who, you know, have, you know, darker skin, those of us who are not, you know, lighter, when, you know, people always trying to think that, you know, light is right and white is right. But to see someone in a beautiful brown skinned woman loving herself and coming to love herself and being the epitome of being able to come to love herself was really something that this album helped encapsulate as well. And I couldn't help but just remark on that, to notice that by the end of this album, I was just like, this, you know, this was really more important in a lot of different ways also as well, because she really laid the background for a lot of people that came afterwards and after her to be able to say that they love themselves, you know, whether all types of shades of brown and black.
I was gonna say, that's why I think brown skin was so important. Like when we started talking about this and I started listening, I was like, I know there's one song I remember, brown skin. Yeah. And that was like, to me, that was like the beginning of a hashtag Black Love or whatever, because you heard of it and like you had other R&B artists sing about love and all that other things, but no one had really called it out like it was.
Yeah, I think for me, this album was really personal. I think I said in the last podcast that I grew up, you know, I went to a mostly all white school. And so, you know, I had a very diverse history when it comes to music. Dee is laughing. And so going into that, one of the people that I listened to constantly was Jewel. And I think I mentioned Jewel before. You know, this white girl with this guitar who was like singing this folk music and just, you know, like blues/folk, and you know, I was very connected to that. So when I heard this India Arie album, it was like, oh, that's me. Like she's talking to me. Like this is, you know, she's so much better than Jewel. Like this is for me. I felt like she was talking to me, her and her guitar, and just I connected to her on so many levels. And I think that's why when I listen to it, it's just a very emotional album, because in that time, and I think a lot of, you know, brown black girls at that time were still trying to love our skin and figure out who we were, and we weren't necessarily the people that you see on TV and in the videos. It was the Alicia Keys, it was the, you know, people who didn't necessarily look like us. And she was saying it's okay, like it's okay, like you are beautiful. And I don't know, it's just a really personal album.
Definitely, I feel that. And seeing someone who looks like you, to, like you said, you listen to Jewel, but seeing someone who had that guitar and emoted that same type of music. You know, another thing when I was listening to, and when I listened to her, I have that same sort of feeling when I listen to her, like the artist her. When I listen to her, I get flashbacks of India Arie, because that's what she reminds me of more than anybody else. Some people will say, you know, Lauryn Hill and everything like that. That's like, but when you listen to a lot of this here, it's just like, whoa,
like
that reminds me a lot of her.
India Arie, Tracy Chapman.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
they all.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a whole line there.
It is. It is. Absolutely. So
Funny
now
thing is,
yeah.
when her came on the verses the other day, I was like, "Where's B at right now?
Well,
I know he's going crazy."
Oh, dude. Listen, let me tell you something. I damn near lost my mind. You hear me? And then when they both started singing, I was like, you know what? I said, I was drinking when I was listening. I don't say this to everybody. I was drinking when I was watching that. I damn near almost cried. I was like, this is beautiful.
Oh, I did cry.
She did.
I was like,
I did cry.
this is.
I cried.
I was like, this is beautiful. I was like, you know what? I said, I went on Twitter. I said, you know what? There needs to be a D'Angelo on her tour right now. I said, I don't care.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
I said, you know what? And if there's going to be $100 tickets, I don't care. $200 tickets, I don't care. $300 tickets, I don't care. I'm buying. For me and my woman. We're both going to be there. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. So I get those flashbacks from her listening to her. I hear India Arie. And that's what helped to draw me to her when I hear that, because I hear India Arie as well.
I have goosebumps right now, don't I?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
They're there.
Cool. So now we're going to get to highlights.
Okay.
Talk about what it is that you like. Either y'all can start, man. Just give me your highlights if you have any lowlights, and go ahead and run them down for me.
Should I go first, babe? Because I know
Sure.
this show joint right here. So I would say my highlights for sure was Nature.
It's interesting.
Nature was a whole vibe for me.
Okay.
So Nature, Promise. I think one thing she did really well in this album was tell stories.
Yeah.
So like the whole folklore thing.
Yeah.
But she told really good stories. So Nature, Promise, and then my last one will be Come Back to the Middle. Those are the highs.
Wow.
I really don't have any lows.
Yeah.
I love the interludes.
Yes.
Because the interludes ties the younger generation to older music.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you're like, oh, she's influenced by Billie Holiday, or who are all of these people? And so I think that was really good.
Yeah. Cool. T?
I like it. You're gonna make me do this, B?
I am.
Okay. I'm gonna say, highlights. I'm gonna say that, of course, I said that "Ready for Love" is a huge highlight for me. That song is just, I don't know, it's classic. So, Brown Skin was personal for me. Video, I mean, I know that was like the mainstream, like, go-to song, but I still feel like it was
a movement, though.
It was a whole movement. Like, it was just, you connect to it on a different level, because it was like, yes, like I said before, it's okay. Like, it's okay. And I think Beautiful was really... It was impactful for me too. So I don't know. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to pick, because I like I said, I love, this is a very personal album to me. So I genuinely love all of them.
Yeah.
As far as lows, I don't think that there are any. The only low for me is that she didn't really win any Grammys for this, and I feel like she should have.
That.
Like, can we go back and do that over?
Let's talk.
You know
about
what I mean?
that.
I don't know. I mean, I know they weren't ready for her at the time. Like, they just weren't ready for it. Like right now, I feel like she'd win every award there is, but they weren't ready for it back then. So I don't know. No lows for me.
Yeah. My highlights, along with the singles and the 3 singles, Video, Brown Skin, and Ready for Love. And Ready for Love being just such an incredibly emotional song. I really, even when I listen to that song, I got to take a couple of minutes to gather myself. Because when you hear, there's only like maybe I would say a couple of handful of songs ever in life that make me feel that way. And there's a few, but that's one of them.
Do you have someone raising their hand in agreement with you?
I figured that much. But another one of mine's on the off tempo is really sort of as a change up. But I love the message, and I see God in you.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, that was real deep.
Like beyond just the music itself, the notes, the drums, the keys, the guitars, everything else, looking at the lyrics and listening to the messages in here, I think what struck to me more so than anything else, the I see God in you, like, man, like really, beautiful. I have to agree with you there, T. It was really another highlight. I gotta give D nature, like, bravo. I have to give you props on that one there as well. Back to the Middle was another one. And Promises. Like, the thing with this album Promises. Is that the thing about with this album, when you're talking about classic albums, is that I like to tell people, like, if you have a litmus test, it's not necessarily the singles and what you hear on the radio and what you see in videos or wherever else. It's how deep you get into the album and how the deep album cuts really sort of stand out. Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. Again, a song with another great message. What's amazing about all these is that she had a hand in crafting all of these songs herself, producing and writing, which we know is not easy. But to me, I think the best music comes from when the artist is involved, not just in writing the music, but in producing it as well. Because I said this in a couple of weeks ago, where we talked about Project Pat. We were doing Mr. Don't Play. We said, you can always tell when the music seems authentic because they've lived it, right? When it's something that they've lived it and they've been a part of it. It's the same thing here with this kind of music, specifically with Neo Soul. When you're a part of making the music that you can only portray and project to everyone, this is what you get. It comes across like this. Because something like this is something that you can sing and not live something like this.
I think we said the same thing about Lauryn Hill. Yeah. That you can feel it through the music. Yeah. Like for India Arie, you can feel it. Every song, every lyric, like you can feel it. You know that she is living it, that she's feeling it, or she wants to feel it. Absolutely. I don't know. Yeah. It's great. It's a wonderful album, you all.
It is. It is. And as we talk about these highlights, you mentioned something, T, and this album was nominated for, I believe it was nominated for 7 Grammys, including.
I thought it was 8.
It was 7 nominations. 7? And including Album of the Year and Best R&B Album. Now, for something like, thinking about that, there's a couple of big prizes during the Grammys. There's Record of the Year and there's Album of the Year. And when you win Album of the Year, it's a big deal. You win either one of those, it's a really, really big deal. And this didn't win any.
None. 0.
This didn't win any Grammys, which is mind-blowing to me that it didn't win anything. That you could have. It is,
but it isn't. If you think about it, even now, like those award ceremonies, they are very whitewashed. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say that on your podcast, but you're
welcome to say it. You're welcome to say it. You just did. And you want to know what? I'm here for it.
This album was way too black to win a Grammy. Yeah, I'm not surprised by it at all.
Yeah, this album was about 15 years too early.
Yes. Yes. Now, right now, she would win. Yeah. Like I said, I think that she would win because we're in that movement and people feel like, ooh, they want to connect. They want to connect to our struggle. Yeah. They want to connect to who we are as a people. So right now, I feel like, yes, she would probably get a couple of awards. But back then, absolutely not. Yeah. No.
Crazy.
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
that's
it's
my
okay.
Political.
It's okay.
Soapbox.
Yeah. So
that's fine, babe.
So seven Grammys and 0, but she won 4 after this, including ones for Voyage to India, which was also another incredible album, and had some
that was
great
payback.
Yeah, that was like, hey, by the way,
just how they did Outkast.
Yeah, just like Outkast, just like they did with Nas just now.
Yes,
hey, we know.
Like, how ridiculous is that?
Hey, you
see, Nas just won a Grammy.
Won a Grammy.
That is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, like, hey, bro, I know I should have given one of these to you earlier. So
my bad.
My bad. Here you go.
Just the my bad award.
Right.
Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, so
I could talk about this all day.
Yeah, she won 4 Grammys afterwards, and she's still out there, still making music. I mean, She put out music
As
as
she
recently
should
a couple of years ago. Put out actually last year. Put out that song "Steady Love," and that was just like
Yes.
just again. Just sort of just speaks to her artistry. I'm a big fan of hers. I became a fan during this album. I remember watching this and hearing like Wonderful, which is the Stevie Wonder dedication track, which is what she did at the 2003 BET Awards, where they honored Stevie Wonder. And her mother opened up for Stevie Wonder, and he was like a personal mentor to her. She has a great deal of feeling about him. She loves him. And I just remember like just her performing this, and then also her going up to Stevie afterwards and giving him a hug. And I remember Stevie had very kind words for her. And anybody who has Stevie Wonder has big props for.
For sure.
Yeah, come on, man. It's anybody who Stevie has big props for, like he hasn't missed. Anybody that he has co-signed, from Michael all the way down to Andra Day. I mean, it's come on, man.
Yeah.
It's
Yes, Andra Day.
He doesn't miss at all. So guys, now we're gonna get to the true test to see where we are with it. So y'all know how we do this. Is it certified classic, borderline classic, classic just in its time, or not a classic at all? And then how strongly do you feel about it? 10 being the strongest, and 7 being I feel okay but not that strong. So
I don't feel like I need to answer this question.
Yeah, I
I
think
feel like everyone knows what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
It's a 10
it's a
for
10.
me.
It's a 10
of
for
a
you.
certified classic.
Yeah.
For sure.
A 10.
Absolutely.
A 10
No
out of
questions
10
asked.
out of 10 out of 10. Gotcha.
Yes.
No doubt. D, what about you, man? I know that you weren't into it as during that time, just getting off line, but
he's weird.
now that you had a little bit of chance to listen to it, and it's taking a little bit of time. What say you?
He has to think about a B.
Only reason why I have to take in consideration where I was in the time when it came out.
Okay. That's a technicality.
That's
So let's
my
clarify.
God.
So B, are you saying how you feel about it right now, or how you felt about it at the time?
Yeah, now that's what this is about.
Right
how you
now.
feel about it right now? Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm listening to her, and I feel like I need to answer a certain way, or my night is not going to go well. So I'm going to answer it in a way that she wants me to answer.
No, don't do that.
Certified
be honest.
classic.
No, be honest. Be honest.
No, I think if you take it like that, and from that perspective, yes, I think it's a certified classic.
Indeed.
Looking back now, the album had notes and feelings that transcend time. And to me, when you look at music and if it is a classic or not, it has to transcend time. And I think her album does that.
Yeah.
I feel strongly about that. Like listening to the album now over the last few days and few weeks, I know why I wasn't ready for this album when it came out.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't there between intake and then when I got off, I was on something completely different, and listening to the songs, I was like, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about love.
Yeah.
But listening to it now, and the reason why I say I really want to hear your take on it, T, because this album came out before we started really getting together. And I was like thinking, did I fit some of these songs? But I ain't gonna ask her because I ain't gonna put you on the spot like that. I'll wait till we get to our podcast to do that because I want to know. But anyways, I think it was a good song. I mean, a good album.
Yeah.
And it transcends time, and it's definitely a classic for me.
True indeed. It's the same for me. And
Oh, good.
it has
You have
even
to answer
I was
certain way,
nervous
too.
for you.
no, it's
I was like,
it's improved. It's improved to me since then. It's gotten even better. The messages resonate more
Yeah.
for me now as a grown man, as a fully grown man. Let me put it that way. Because I was technically an adult when this came out, but I wasn't a fully grown man. I'm a fully grown man now. Listening to this music and then understanding how important it was for women and for brown skinned women at that. That's really, and to be able to see, this beautiful person, artistry, physically, just be able to come out and give the world such a masterpiece, to give us messages and things, as you said, D, will transcend throughout time. It's important, and it's something that I think that even years from now, that you know, should I have a daughter, I'm going to want her to go listen to India Arie. And,
Absolutely.
you know, and because this is important. This is something that I think that all black girls should be listening to coming up. It should be a nice balance between
absolutely
what we see
I will say
commercially
this.
versus that.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
In the car, me and my daughter just got home. I'm sorry, B. I cut people off.
It's
I know
okay.
that's why he's laughing
Don't
at me.
worry about
and
it.
I'm
It's
not
okay.
trying to. I apologize. This
It's
is your
okay.
podcast.
It's okay.
But my daughter and I were listening to this, and she was like, "I like this." And because she had never heard it before, which made me feel like a bad parent. I was like, you
Bad
should
mom.
definitely have heard this before.
Bad
But
mom.
like listening to the songs, she was like, oh, I like this. You could tell that she was connecting.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's such an important album for
It
like
is.
little girls and
Yeah.
just women in general.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just had to say
is.
that.
No, it is, and that's part of I think what helps to make this a classic, because you know it's something that when we talk about like classic literature, like we always talk about some reading things like The Souls of Black Folks, reading things like The Autobiography of the Ex-Colored Man, or Miseducation of the Negro, Autobiography of Malcolm X, things like that. Like this is sort of like talk about things that are important, that remain important. It's almost the same thing with music. And I think this is a part of that, seeing that it's important in its content, not just upon the quality of what you're getting, but also in the content of what you're receiving.
Content is so important.
It is, and I think that we're lacking sometimes for content in today's music, sometimes.
That's a whole nother subject.
Exactly. That's a whole nother podcast.
Whole nother one. When
It
you
is.
make it though, I'll be ready for it.
Hey, look, I had to have y'all back on for that, because y'all we're sort of in the same age group, so I know y'all feel the way that I feel. Like we speak the same language when it comes to things like that. So I'll be ready to have that conversation whenever y'all are. So indeed. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. India Arie, Acoustic Soul, 20 years old this year. Please go check this out, man. Stream it, listen to it. Album is a whole damn ass vibe. It really is.
It absolutely is.
Go listen to it. Let your wife listen to it. Let your daughters listen to it. Your nieces, whoever. It's a beautiful representation of black women, the feelings and things that they may go through, the process they go through in learning how to love themselves, and things about love and about representation and all that, man. Please make sure you go listen to it and catch up with their other work as well. If you're not familiar with India Arie, which if you're not right now, then shame on you.
You just missed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She has good albums.
She does.
Yeah.
It's a lot of good work. She has a very, very dope body of work. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So make sure y'all go check that out. And that's actually going to wrap it up here for The Vault and another edition of The Vault. Want to thank D&T once again from the Perfectly Imperfect Couple podcast. Y'all make sure y'all go check them out. And guys, of course, one more time, go plug the social media where they can find you, listen to your podcast and everything else. Let the people know where they can find you.
All right, well, you can always email us at perfectlyimperfectcouple.17@gmail.com. Hit us up on Facebook. We have a page called Perfectly Imperfect Couple. Go to the community page, like it. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. Our Instagram is perfectly_imperfect_couple_17. And our Twitter is perfectly imperfect and 1 E, and that's the last one.
Cool. Well, make sure y'all go check them out, man. They have a very, very dope podcast. I love listening to this
thank
show.
you.
And I recommend it for couples, too, to listen to it. And I've listened to it solo. Me and my fiance haven't listened to it yet, but I'll make sure we're going to sit down and go back and listen to a few of those episodes. And so go check them out, y'all. D&T from the Perfectly Imperfect Couple podcast once again. And as a reminder, you can always download, stream, and subscribe to the Vault Classic Music Reviews podcast on any one of our streaming sources. If you go to the bio in any one of our pages, you can get to the link tree that has all of our streaming sources and also all of our social media pages. You can get to the Vault Classic Music Reviews podcast on @VaultCMR Podcast on Instagram, also @Vault Classic on Twitter, and also the Vault Classic Music Reviews on Facebook and YouTube. Look up the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page, interact with us here on social media, y'all. We do it here all for you. We appreciate the support, and if you have a friend, tell a friend, and make sure that friend tells a friend. Always remember to keep your headphones on and your music loud, but not too loud. And as we close, we like to remind everyone to dream big, because dreams are the basis for creation. Always create, motivate, and elevate, because you were never destined or created to stay stationary in this life. And on that note, we say peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening and coming into The Vault. Please subscribe and follow us on Facebook at IV Creative and Instagram at IVECRE8.